Club today, joined by Nexus Licensing Group with Ben Pope, the Director of Client Services, and Julian Andreola, Client Services Manager. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on into the club.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We're excited,
guys.
Yeah,
quite the infrastructure here. So,
well, appreciate that, Ben. It's always great to see how licensing impacts the collegiate industry. And at the end of the day, I think that's always a great place to start this conversation is tell us about Nexus Licensing Group and what exactly it is for our listeners out there that maybe aren't familiar with licensing and all the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, so Nexus was founded in 2019 by our CEO, Brian Young. Brian's been in the licensing industry for 20 years. He worked on strategic marketing affiliates back in the day, also worked on the Learfield licensing team for a few years, and then when the final consolidation ended up happening, he saw an opportunity to spin off, really to get back to being able to provide smaller to mid-sized institutions with like the custom hands-on approach that they deserve. So we were started then. I joined the company in 2022. I started as an intern. It was Brian working out of his house at the time. We had about 15 properties, and we've been able to grow since there. And we have, I call it the best team in the world. Like, I'm so thankful. So
no, it's been great to get to know you, Ben, and Julian and Brian through the years, and you guys do have a great team, and you can tell that culture that has been that foundation has bled into all the different roles that continue to expand. And Julian, I know you've been a rising star within the organization. It's been cool to see you start to make your pathway.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like, the licensing industry isn't something that they'll teach you about in school. I was a sport management major. They'll teach you about all the jobs with a specific professional sports team, whatever you may have at ticket sales, stuff like that. But, licensing is really unique, and, it was something that, I wanted to give it a shot when I saw the internship kind of come across as an opportunity. So I'm glad I got in the industry. 2 years in, I feel like I got a lot of kind of experience under my belt, and excited to kind of see that continue to grow. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting to see when it comes to Nexus and the reputation you guys have been able to build very quickly. It's cool to see how you've disrupted a little bit of a licensing industry that has some regular players, and it's cool to see a new player really rise and make an impact for those mid-sized schools that you had mentioned, Ben. But it all comes from like core values, and I know you have 4 things that are listed as core values in Nexus: service, character, collaboration, and commitment. So how do those tie into really your approach and what you're doing to bring that value back to those mid-sized universities?
Yeah, this became a lot more pivotal as we've continued to grow the team. When you're small and it was 2 or 3 of us, like we worked so closely together that it didn't feel as necessary.
The core values were who you were.
Exactly. And, we kind of, made it the way that we wanted to make it, right? But as we've grown and Julian and Tim and Matt and other members of our team, those were really born out of an in-person, our first like internal summit that we did last fall, where we put a huge piece of white paper on the wall, and we probably had 75 words on it.
Yeah.
And we narrowed it down from there. It took probably like 2 hours, and there was actually some debate with it too, but
I'm sure
we were really happy with where we landed. We felt like it embodied who we are, and I think who we're trying to be, both internally when it comes to like making tough decisions or working through problems, but then externally as well, like how we want to position ourselves.
Yeah, we went through the same exercise. It had to be, 5 or 6 years ago at this point, maybe probably longer actually at that point, for our core values, right? And we were thinking about things not that we were striving to be, but things that we were already doing, right? And I bet you that's probably how you got some of these things where when you had that small, tight-knit group, this is what you guys were already built on, not things that you're like, hey, we should start being more committed. Yeah. No, these are things that you guys were already doing internally, and that's probably how you guys still think about it today and how you continue to build the team.
I love the story of the summit, and Adam, I think you'll probably appreciate this too. We have a strategy retreat, and the paper on the wall when you said that, Ben, it's a regular thing every November for us.
It's like a beautiful mind out there.
I know, it is. So is the summit something you think will continue, or is that something that like we need to huddle everyone together, we're growing, we need to figure this out?
100%. Yeah, now with having people work remotely, having them come out and spend time with us and continue to build that culture together is extremely important. So we're already planning our next one. And it actually, so we're obviously we're in a small town. We're in a
Sure.
suburb. It's Victor, New York, outside of Rochester. And, we don't, outside of traveling to see clients or industry events and whatnot, we don't get out a ton. So we actually didn't do it in our building. We rented a space at a local hotel and spa and used that just to have a shift in mindset, right? We didn't want, comfortability. We wanted to have like an open mind and really use that for the exercise.
We actually do a similar thing where we won't have it here in the building. We'll go elsewhere, and that shift of mindset is a big part of that.
Yeah, it's fun. We get a big Airbnb house together out in Lake Geneva, right across the border over in Wisconsin. And we've been doing it for, I want to say, 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
But it's always a great reset, right? It gets you excited, right? We always do ours in November, right? So just a hard-fought year, and it kind of gets the mind right and the team right for the upcoming year, right? And the years keep getting faster, so November will be here for us before we know it.
Now, I know you mentioned how these are part of really the fabric of who you are as a company, and at the root of how you go to the marketplace and serve those external clients. What do you look for in an institution when you're trying to identify those new opportunities that could become part of the Nexus family?
Yeah, I think what we really want more than anything, it's not always looking at, size or revenue generation or anything like that. We're looking for partners who want to be collaborative and grow with us, right? We've been fortunate enough, and, we're younger, so we haven't been in the industry super long, but we're building real relationships where, you're checking in on people on just life. It's not just about work all the time. So it's looking for good partners who will be collaborative, who want to, try new things, who want to continue to grow. And I think we have a great group for that, and it's fun.
Yeah, I feel like just with that relationship piece, when the relationship is just kind of outside of the work boundaries, it just makes that work way, way more easier. And to kind of have those difficult conversations, have more elaborate conversations, around kind of different projects, stuff like that. So like Ben said, our meetings aren't just we're hopping on, we're talking about work for 30 minutes and we're hopping off, we're hopping on, hey, how have you been? How's the month been? Stuff like that, kind of digging into personal life. And then we get into the work, and, all those conversations just flow a lot easier when you're familiar with the people who you're working with.
Yeah, and that's part of the recipe of success for us as well, where relationships are at the heart of everything. We talked about this before, but especially in higher ed, you've got such an interesting web of who knows who and how it can continue to just open pathways, doors. It's exciting to see an agency take that mindset and run with it. So kudos to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we're really lucky. We feel like we're so fortunate. We feel like we have the best jobs in the world because we get to travel. We get to spend time with great people. We both grew up in a sports environment. We get to see a lot of games, see a lot of cool things that we really wouldn't be able to if we didn't. So
the same thing on the team. It's fun. It's fun, right?
Yeah, so much fun.
It's just a fun industry to work in. You're working with colleges, universities, and branded items, promotional items, their logos. It's just, again, big sports fan as well. So it's just fun to be able to feel like you're part of that messaging, especially when you're walking at campus and you see something that I did or we produce or whatever that might be. It's just a fun industry.
Yeah.
Well, and those random games on a Tuesday night that are on ESPN2 or whatever channel, it's one of those things where it gives you some context to an otherwise surface level meaningless game if you're not part of that community.
Right.
But now you are, by an extension. Bill over in athletics, or Sue in the licensing department, whatever that is.
Expose season and March Madness is a lot more fun too.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
you're just paying attention to all this stuff.
I mean, we're live texting people too, during the game. It's a touchdown or somebody hits a big shot. It's let's go.
Yeah.
It's we feel like we're part of it, and we've said that where we want them to feel like we're an extension of their team. We're not some external agency that they hired. We want to be part of their culture too. So that's really important to us.
Now, is that something that you proactively try to do a little research on? Is maybe institutions that don't have available resources and you guys step in as kind of that expert in the space to help guide them?
Yeah, I think that's where it comes down to the collaborative approach. No two partnerships look the same.
Yep.
It can look different based on what their goals, what their values are, and what they want to accomplish. For a lot of our partners, the biggest piece is using our software and protecting the brand and the proactive infringement scans that we do and whatnot. And then we have other partners who are huge into growth and we're having monthly meetings talking about what progress have we made in what areas.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different, depending on who it is. But they're all rewarding in their own way too.
That's outstanding. And I'm sure it's something that you've seen, your reputation build on. Is it all ties back to service and that collaboration, and there's two of your core values right away. But you've seen now your footprint grow since 2019, all the way up to, I think it's 70 plus institutions now.
Yeah,
it's out. I mean, that doesn't happen by mistake.
No, yeah, and I think more than anything, we've been fortunate that we've built those relationships, and industry friends have taken us with them.
Yeah.
As we all know, like, people move around, especially in athletics.
Yeah.
So we really try to do a good job and build that relationship, and then we're fortunate enough to be taken along for the ride a lot of times.
So what are you guys excited about right now in terms of the growth that you guys are seeing? Are there any big fish that you're excited about that you're trying to reel in? And if you can't name them, that's okay.
Well, I'll go quick.
Yeah, you go.
I think I'm really, well, since I've been in it since it was a 2-3 person team. I'm just really excited about the other people that we brought into the fold.
Yeah.
And like seeing them have success. Seeing them really enjoy coming into our culture and getting to know them on a more personal level. So that's been a huge part of it. Obviously, you always have your technical hit list of prospects that you want to work on and whatnot, and checking those off is always great. But I think it comes down to the personal stuff too, more than anything.
And the expansion of the team, that's a great call out.
Yeah,
something we're seeing here at Club Colors, where we continue to hire and grow, and the talent in the room is as best as it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, just having the growth mindset. Brian has been in the industry for 20, 30 years. Tim Potter on our team, he's been in the industry for so long. He was actually the trademark licensing director at Arizona State University for 15 years. So just really being a sponge, being around those guys, listening to what they have to say, and kind of just continuing to grow and have a better grasp on the industry as a whole, and take that back to all the clients that I service myself. Just using all of that knowledge and all the tools that they kind of equip us with, and kind of hit the ground running from there. And
I think like a way to kind of paint the picture for it is using NACTA as an example. So 3 years ago, that was my first NACTA, and it was Brian and I. And then 1 year ago, it was Brian, Julian, and I. And then this year it was Brian, myself, Julian, and Tim. And each year we've had a more productive convention. Mm-hmm. And I think that just like shows how, as we continue to grow, it manifests itself, but it's cool to be able to see it be like a real team effort.
And I know, Adam, you probably have some parallels you can pull on from some of the relationships we've built through the years, regular occurring conferences, and we always had a saying, we want to be famous at this one.
I always said after every single time, I want to be famous. I want to walk in and I want to know people. I want to have a relationship, right, where you can go and you're not standing in the corner, a little awkward, a little shy, right? When you walk in, you can know, there's so-and-so, you're saying hi, you're walking in.
Yep.
But
it just gives you a different level of reputation at the end of the day, when you can be in those conferences and people are seeking you out then. Mm-hmm. And that's what you guys are all building, and it's great to see.
Yeah, and especially coming from the seat of, two guys on the younger side, right? We've been fortunate enough to meet so many amazing people through, the older people on our team and our clients and, licensee partners too. We've just been really lucky, to be able to network in that way. Because it is hard when you first come in. It's hard to feel, you don't want to put yourself out there too hard and embarrass yourself. But we're lucky where we're always around the right people,
especially in this space, right? Everybody knows each other already. So you're like the new guy, like, well, I don't know anybody here.
And the first thing I was told by Brian when I got the job was this industry is smaller than anyone knows it is, right? So that at that very point, I was like, everyone will make mistakes, but how you treat people and how your character is the most important thing, because people remember that when, like Julian said, it's time to have a tough conversation or you're working through a problem that's happened.
No, that's a great call out. And I mean, inevitably, whatever industry you're in, something will go sideways at some point, and how you navigate that is a huge statement to your character and all those things that are right there in your core values. Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to what's on the horizon for you guys, you're always looking at where there could be opportunities. So what are you looking at in the licensing space right now as opportunities where you can service your clients or maybe new prospects, but just like what's moving the needle right now in conversations in the licensing space?
Yeah, I think we're always trying to, from our seats in client servicing, trying to understand and keep a pulse on, what licensee partners have to offer and new products, right? Like we have our calls that we do where you guys bring us up to speed on what's new for you, right? So we can bring that back to our schools. And the same thing goes, with other partners and other brands. One that, we'll give a shout out to that we've had a great time with over the last, 6 to 12 months is Crew Dog. Now
they're doing those kind of interesting alternate logos. Right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. It's kind of like a Polo Ralph Lauren sort of feel to it. Mm-hmm. And they've been a good partner for us. And it's a unique and niche thing that is different for a lot of our schools, and that, for a lot of them, there isn't always that many opportunities, right? And that's one example of it.
And continuing with them as the example, are you seeing like a regional attraction to it, or is it something you're seeing nationwide, the Crew Dog in California and Crew Dog in the Northeast?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. We're working on, I guess I can't say it, but we're working on one on the West Coast, as far west as you can go. That may give it away. And then we're also working on some in New Jersey and New York, and they look very different. Sure. They're different mascots. They have different outfits on because, the style of what their students and constituents will attract to is different.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the good news for you, Ben, is we're here in Illinois, and the West is anything west of the Mississippi. Yeah, so there's a lot of schools west of the Mississippi.
Is that how that
works? But no, that's great to always hear, trends that you're seeing in the licensing space and how it's just sparking conversations to service your clients and deepen that relationship you have with them. And I would imagine a lot of it's tied to just the need to generate revenue and find ways to make the brand sticky in other ways. Is that something you're seeing? Is that prioritization of how do we drive revenue, maybe more so than you have in the 10 years prior?
Definitely so. It depends on the school and where they're at and where this is on their priority list. Licensing is never one of the largest revenue streams that they're going to bring in, compared to MMR or sponsorship or anything like that. But we certainly, we feel that more than we ever have, with where, higher ed is going as a whole, especially college athletics. Every extra dollar matters, right? And, example of, we've had clients use, their incoming, net royalty for brand refreshes or other things like that, investing into registering their trademarks so we can continue to go out there and protect the marks too. So it definitely matters, and it's very important to them.
And you mentioned it earlier, you got some software that kind of helps with that protection of the brand. What goes into that process on the agency side in terms of protecting the brand?
Yeah, so we're a partner of Brand Comply College. It's a division of Octane 5. It's one of the biggest licensing softwares in the world. They do NASCAR, Coca-Cola, some other really large brands. Yeah. And we're the exclusive agency partner of Brand Comply. And we actually, on July 1st, this is a good time to have this conversation, we actually moved over into our own instance of it. So we were sharing, Brand Comply, thank you. We were sharing Brand Comply College with Ohio State and some other really large independent licensing programs who uses them. But now we're on our own system. It looks very similar to what it did, but it's opening, new access and new tools for our partners too, so they can have more insight into their data and have a little bit more control over what's going on.
That's really cool. And this will be very timely for Kevin. And when Kevin listens to this podcast, because Kevin will listen to the podcast, he was asking, what is the difference between the Nexus Brand Comply and the other Brand Comply things? And
there you have it.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Ben. When it comes to ultimately how that software then makes it an easier process for your clients, how do you see a lot of schools that are coming in as clients that have never been licensed, and so like the whole idea of having a software platform is something you have to teach them? Or are you seeing a lot of clients that are maybe switching between different platforms and there's some familiarity there? What's that kind of look like from a client services perspective?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty healthy mix. For those who are launching licensing for the first time, they're coming from the old ways of approving art submissions by email.
Sure.
From their vendors, which is not the most efficient way to do it in 2026.
I don't know what you mean.
Sorry.
It sounds super efficient.
So yeah, they obviously love it. You know, it's great for them to be able to streamline it. We can have, you know, multiple individuals from campus in at the same time and review groups. And then, you know, for those who are, you know, transitioning, there are some nuances in our system that I think have been able to set us apart a bit and make it user friendly. Yeah. And our team at Brand Comply is great.
And I would imagine on like the back end then for your clients, like they get like a dashboard or something that shows them all the key numbers that they need to know.
Yeah, for sure. And that's really kind of a big piece of, you know, the new instance of the Nexus Brand Comply is kind of giving, you know, additional kind of reporting access, stuff like that, really just kind of enhancing, you know, the platform experience for our clients. So that was really a big part of us rolling it out. And, you know, we're excited that we're able to kind of, you know, continue to give our clients more and more of an inside look into their licensing programs.
Yeah, and it's really cool for those two who have been with us since 2019, which even predates me. Like seeing us take steps like this, like we get, you know, they congratulate us, and it's cool for them to be a part of it too, because they feel like they're a part of something that's growing and continuing to innovate.
Yeah, I mean, Adam, we've kind of experienced a similar thing with some of the technologies we have, where, you know, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, things are very different.
Very.
And being able to have our clients be a part of that journey, though, and see the evolution of the company, and ultimately it all goes back to your core values and the character and what you're prioritizing to your clients and the service you provide. So it's cool to hear another company have a similar journey in that way. Now, you mentioned this earlier, that you guys get out on the road. And I know we've seen each other on the road quite a bit.
Yep.
How often are you getting out to campuses, and like what does that cadence look for you guys? And the third question, how do the two of you work together?
Yeah, so we're road buddies.
Yeah.
We share a lot of hotel rooms. Yeah. We share a lot of hotel rooms, a lot of meals, a lot of workouts, which we love. But yeah, we get out there a lot. I mean, we're, you know, as a team, we're on the road almost every week.
That's amazing.
You know, there's busier times than others. Summer's really busy for new business in terms of people having time to finally take our meetings and whatnot. And then obviously in a few weeks we're coming into heavy, you know, client visit season. And it's really cool too, though. You know, you stay until Saturday and you catch a game and whatnot. But yeah, within our team, so Julian kind of manages our Northeast, Mid-Atlantic.
Okay.
So we're in the car a lot together.
Yeah.
And then I also sometimes get out to the West Coast with Tim, and we do our visits there too. So.
I think it's deceiving how close everything is out in the Northeast and in the Mid-Atlantic. I remember the first time I went out I was going to Philly, but I was like, oh, could I go to Virginia and stop in D.C.? And I was like, oh, well, actually, it's just and I'm right there.
Yeah.
It's 7 states in like a matter of 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like we always look at it as like, you know, anything up to like 5-6 hours, that's easy. That's cake.
Yeah.
Anything over that is a little bit, all right, might be dragging a little bit, might have to split it up. So
Yeah.
Agreed.
Last summer we went straight east to New Hampshire.
Okay.
We did a meeting at Keene State, and we kept going east. Did a meeting at Plymouth State. Then we went from Plymouth State to Jersey.
Okay.
Did 2 visits down there over 2 days.
yeah.
And then we drove all the way back up to Rochester. So it was like a giant triangle.
It goes like 1,000 something miles. It was definitely over 1,000.
Yeah, we definitely did. We did the tracking on that. But to your point, Chris, like when we tell our team, or you know, you talk to Brian and like, hey, we're gonna go visit this school. He's like, well, that's near this school and this school and this school and this school. So we really try to like make the most of our trips too.
Yeah.
You know, trying to visit as many as we can together because it's just efficient that way.
We do a similar thing where depending on the region, you'll run into just that, where you've got schools on top of each other or within a fairly reasonable driving distance. So our Road Warrior team, shout out to Myra.
Yeah.
You, me. We'll make all sorts of different stops where at the end of the day, you're trying to build that connection to campus and trying to open opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we love it. I mean, it's personally my favorite part about what we do.
I agree.
There's nothing that replaces getting your feet on the campus, meeting people in their offices, seeing the vibe of the campus, the students living within the environment. You just connect with the school in a totally different way.
Yeah, and I mean we're from the era where half of the second half of my college experience was online.
Oh,
during
sure.
COVID.
Sure.
So we come from like you get stuff done virtually by Zoom or by email or whatnot, and you know, getting out there now and spending a lot of time in person, it makes you understand why like really before all that business didn't get done if you didn't spend time with people in person.
Yeah, I mean, getting in person is just game-changing stuff, right? I feel like it's great to have video calls, right?
Yep.
But in person, right? Maybe you have a lunch, maybe you have a cocktail or whatever that is. Just changes the relationship, right? I think it's just a really lost art, in my opinion. We try to get to as many of these vendor fairs as possible in a given year. We try to visit as many of our campuses as possible. But like I said, I think it's just a lost art on a lot of people in the industry.
Yeah.
If you're not getting to your campus.
And that'd be something I think for you guys to take home too, is it in this conversation of servicing your clients in that licensing space. If vendor fairs come up in conversation ever, or if there's questions like, should we do it, should we not do it? We'll tell you from the vendor perspective, it is a huge asset to be able to connect with folks, meet who they are, and just service the campus through your licensed vendors in a smarter way. It just really helps connect the importance of licensing to the people that are actually buying the stuff on the campus, and reduce the amount of people that are going rogue and doing whatever they want to do.
Yeah. And I even think, like, on top of just